Hey there, crafty friends. My name is Zara Premji. I'm from My Pretty Inkspirations, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Ontario, Canada. Thank you so much for joining me. If this is your first time to my channel, thank you so much for visiting, and I hope that you enjoy what you see. Today, I will be doing a video tutorial for you to show you how to make this beautiful card that you see here on the camera. This is featuring a brand new set of products that is being released on March 2nd by Stampin' Up! They are out of catalog products currently, and they are called Butterfly Bouquet. So let me show you first what is being offered in this new product collection. The Butterfly Bouquet Product Collection is, as I said, available March 2nd until May 3rd and includes 4 different products that can be purchased individually or as a collection. The first item that we have is the Butterfly Brilliance Stamp Set. This is actually a background stamp, and you'll see 6 butterflies on here. They're actually all combined on one individual stamp that would work really well as a background or can be cut individually and used on your projects. The Brilliant Wings dies coordinate beautifully with this stamp set. There is an outline die that will actually cut out the stamps that you see in this cling stamp set. And then there are some detailed butterflies that you can also use on your projects, as well as some background dies and some smaller butterflies. The collection also includes the most gorgeous designer series paper called Butterfly Bijou. This is a 6x6 designer series paper. There are 48 sheets, and you get 8 sheets of 6 different patterns. So you have these large butterflies here, and then on the back you have this beautiful watercolored pattern. Next, we have this watercolor pattern here, and then on the other side, these beautiful Misty Moonlight and Bermuda Bay and Just Jade butterflies. So beautiful shades of green and blue. And then we've got this one here that is just a rainbow swarm of butterflies, which is beautiful as a background. And then we've got, again, a different watercolored wash on the back of that pattern. We've got this one here with these beautiful monarch butterflies, and then we've got kind of a small dotted pattern on the back. And then we have this one here with some smaller butterflies, again some watercolor pattern on the back of that one. And lastly, we've got this gorgeous pink and aqua colored watercolor wash with some beautiful butterflies on that. And then we've got this really neat geometric pattern on the back that can be used for all sorts of different cards. So you can see the versatility in this paper pack. Another thing that I want to show you with this paper is that they coordinate perfectly with the dies. So I love when Stampin' Up! Coordinates their papers with the dies. And the Brilliant Wings dies is a set that contains 12 different dies, one of which will actually cut out, as I mentioned, the butterflies in the stamp, as well as the butterflies on this paper. So you can run this through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine once, and you will cut out 6 different colored, beautiful butterflies that you can use all on the same project or on different projects. So that is what is included in the paper pack and its coordination with the dies. One last product that is included with this collection is the Natural Touch specialty paper. This package is 12 by 12 and has 2 sheets, and it has this gorgeous light wood grain texture to it. It almost looks like laminate. And on the other side, there's still kind of a wood grain, a subtle wood grain on the back, and then just this beautiful texture here. So this comes in a pack of 2. It's 12 by 12, and this is an exclusive product that's available for a limited time only. So if you wanted to purchase the entire collection together, you can do so for $97 Canadian, or you can order the products individually, as I mentioned. If you do want to use the dies, you will definitely need to have the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And if you are looking to order either the collection or the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, you may want to consider purchasing the starter kit. That's an excellent deal, and you can certainly let me know if you have more questions about that. So let's get started with creating these cards. Well, creating one card actually. And to create the card, you are going to need a piece of basic white thick cardstock that measures 5.5 by 8.5, and it's scored at 4 1/4. And then you will need a piece of designer series paper that measures 5.5 by 4 1/4, and that's going to cover the entire front of the card base. And then you will need either just a cut out rectangle or a stitched rectangle. So I use the stitched rectangle dies for this one. And then you'll need your embellishments and stamps, of course. So this particular stamp set, as I mentioned, is a background stamp. And you can see I have cut and saved all sorts of butterflies in here. And so I can use these on my projects really quickly. The stamp itself is a background stamp that you can mount onto a large block or use with your Stamparatus. This does not include any sentiments. So what's great about this is you can use any of the sentiment stamps that you have available to be able to put sentiments on your cards. For the purposes of this card, I'm going to be using the In Bloom stamp set, and I love the sentiment here that says, "Happy birthday, you really are the best." So I will be using that, but I'll actually be cutting it down and just using one portion of that. So let's get started with our card. I'm going to just burnish the card here to create a nice crisp edge. I'll use my bone folder for that. I'm just going to create a crisp edge there. And then I'm going to stick down my designer series paper. You can use any of the patterns that are available in the pack. I just love this one here with the different colors. So I'm just using my Stampin' Seal. This is one of my favorite adhesives, and I'm just putting a strip along each edge just to ensure that it sticks down really well to my card base. Okay, so there we go with that. Now I'm going to show you how you can use one of the dies to create a really cool background effect. There's this cross hatch die that I'm going to run through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine to just create a little bit of interest on the back of the stitched rectangle. So I'm just going to set that down on my Stampin' Cut and Emboss, and I'm going to run that through a couple of times. Do that one more time. Okay. So that's done. And now one of the other things that I would like to do with this rectangle here is to create a little bit of a sparkly splatter background. And to do that, I'm going to use my Wink of Stella. This is our beautiful glitter brush. So when you are going to do this technique, you want to just give it a little bit of a light squeeze just to bring some of the glitter paint into the chamber. And then you're just going to gently flick the brush against the cap of your Wink of Stella, and you can create this really gorgeous sparkly background effect onto your rectangle. So we're going to set that aside to dry, and while we do that, we are going to heat emboss our sentiment. So I'm going to take my sentiment here that says, "Happy birthday, you really are the best," and I'm going to use my Versamark ink and ink that up really well, and then stamp that onto my Magenta Madness strip. And we'll grab our white heat emboss powder. And I'm just going to grab this little spoon here and cover up the sentiment here with the white emboss powder. Just make sure that's really well covered, and then tap off the excess back into the container, or if you're using a scrap piece of paper, you can tap it onto that and fold it and pour it back into your container. We'll just grab our heat tool now and heat set the white powder. There we go. And as I mentioned, I would like to use just part of that sentiment. So I'm just going to go in with my scissors and cut that down and just trim the part that says, "You really are the best." I love this sentiment, and I feel like it can be used for so many different occasions and so many different people. So I'm just going to trim that. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to get it trimmed down so that you've got your sentiment ready for mounting. Okay, so we'll set that aside. And now we are going to begin to put our card together. So as I mentioned, the dies in this set will cut out the designer series paper. So that's all I'm using on this card. And I'm going to use 3 of the butterflies. I'm going to go with the 3 smallest ones for my card because I would like to put them onto a gold hoop. And so let's get this adhered to our card. So this should be pretty dry by now. And I'm just going to use, again, my Stampin' Seal and put that down on my card base. Next, I'm going to use the gold hoops. This is one of my favorite embellishments in the annual catalog. These come in a package of 10 and they just add this beautiful detail to your card. I think they're best used with our mini glue dots. So I will use a couple of mini glue dots to attach this. So I'm pressing the hoop down onto the glue dot and I'm just putting one on putting 2 on opposite ends. And then I'm going to put them down onto my card. You don't want to put it too far to the right because once you start to put your butterflies down, you don't want them extending over the side of the card. So I'm going to take the vellum detailed butterfly, which I've already pre-cut, and I'm also going to use a glue dot to adhere that to this butterfly here. And the shape, the outer shape matches perfectly. And you can do the different detailed butterflies for each of those butterflies there. So I think when it comes to sticking the butterflies onto your card, it's probably best to put the glue dots directly onto the hoop. So I'm going to take this one here and just lay that down there with my Take Your Pick tool. And I'm just going to use my fingers to create a little bit of dimension here on that butterfly. And then I'm going to stick that down there. I'm going to do the same thing with this one here. Put the glue dot onto the hoop and then adhere that butterfly there. And then we'll do the third one just at the bottom there. And so we've got our butterflies now attached to the hoop. The next thing we're going to do is to tie a bow with the linen thread. And I like to hide this just under the sentiment, just to, again, give it a little bit of texture and interest. So I'm just going to tie a little bow with that. And then pull on the tails until the loops are the size that you want them to be. And just snip that. If you feel like the ends are curling a little bit, you can just use your thumbnail to pull some of the kink out of the tails there. Once again, we will get our glue dots and adhere that right beside the hoop here. Okay, and that's going to get covered up by our sentiment. And I feel like the best way to stick down the sentiment is to use our mini Stampin' Dimensionals. So I'm going to put one on either side of the sentiment here. If you don't have mini dimensionals, you can also use regular dimensionals and just cut them into smaller pieces. And then you're just going to set that down directly onto your card. And you'll just see the linen thread bow sticking out a little bit. The last thing we want to do is to embellish. I had used champagne rhinestones on mine, but on my original card, I should say. And on this one, I'm going to go in with the gold metallic pearls. So we're just going to sprinkle some of the gold metallic pearls onto the card like so. And that is the finished card. So I'll bring in the originals again so you can see. This is one using a different pattern. And then we've got this one here that we just created, and this is a similar one that says happy birthday on it. So you can see the difference between the embellishments. And I'm going to show you a few other projects I have created using this suite so you can get a sense of all of the different things you can do with it. So we've got this one here. This is using the background stamp, and I stamped the entire white layer with Seaside Spray. And then I just die cut one of the and butterflies from the designer series paper and added a sentiment and a strip of our True Love designer series paper. And then we've got this one here. This is actually copied right from the flyer. This sample was gorgeous, so I wanted to recreate this myself just to get a chance to play with it. You can see here that this is the Natural Touch specialty paper that is die cut with that. And then I also used the, I heat embossed and cut out the sentiment. We've got this one here using a different pattern of the designer series paper. This is a detailed butterfly die cut with this is actually cut out from the designer series paper and using the Brilliant Wings dies. And this one here was cut out with Bermuda Bay cardstock, and then I used some Wink of Stella on that. And then we've got this one here that actually doesn't have any die cut butterflies on it. And I really just used the designer series paper and stamped a sentiment from the In Bloom stamp set that says "You are amazing." And I just used some of the fine art ribbon and some white twine to embellish. And then we've got this fun fold card here. And this is just a simple fun fold where I have die cut the butterfly from the designer series paper and just put that onto a card with some of the other designer series paper. And lastly, we have this one here using the Pretty Perennials stamp set and a couple of die cut butterflies. And I've used the Natural Touch specialty paper and I die cut that with the Stitch So Sweetly dies. So many different projects and ideas and things that you can do with this beautiful set. Everything that I have shown you here today can be purchased from my online store. The link will be in the description, and I will also have an accompanying blog post for the project that I created today. If you don't already have a demonstrator, I would love for you to shop with me. And if you have any questions or if there's anything I can help you with at all, please don't hesitate to send me a message or leave a comment below. And if you liked what you saw today, I would really appreciate if you liked and subscribed to my channel. Thank you so much for being with me today, and I hope that you enjoyed this project, and I wish you a happy day. Bye for now.